As the hour of sundown nears in this Friday evening,
That's
a calm settles on the campuses wherever student and faculty worship their Creator on the Sabbath. One of those campuses is Walla Walla College, from which KGTS broadcasts each day. The work of the week is over, the campus is quiet, and a full day of worship sets in at the west setting of the sun. Student and teacher enter the hours of a welcome repast anticipated since the west setting of the sun a week ago. So our wish for you is that you join us in the spirit and, as you will, the acts of worship during Sabbath hours. And may He be pleased with worship befitting one who cared enough to live, to die, and live again. That's it, Bev.
Loren, you have been part of the Walla Walla University scene ever since I can remember. And long before. What brought you here?
You know, I think it was desperado time. I'd been canned by another college for causes that today would never stand up. So I sent my stuff out to all the Adventist colleges, as I recall, and this one responded, and this only. So, of course, I had to follow that.
Yeah.
And they decided that they wanted to get serious about the radio station. So that was kind of the breaking point for them and for us, and it sounded like the right match. So we were plenty happy to be here.
That leads us, actually, to one of the main contributions you have made to this campus. But I'm intrigued by an allusion to a previous story. That
Well,
sounds
yeah,
like it has
you
some
mean the being
promise.
fired or the radio station?
No, let's talk about the radio station later. What was this about being fired?
Well, the president calls me in. You want the name? The president calls me in and said, "Now, what do you want to do with your life?" And I had no idea at age 25 or whenever I landed on that campus.
Okay.
And so I mumbled something incoherent, I'm sure. And he said, "Well, we really don't have room for that here." If I'd said the other thing, he would have said, "Well, we really don't have room for that either." So you're done here quite soon.
Okay.
And that came as a shock, so we pled for one more year. And I think the fact that they granted that to us was evidence that this firing thing was kind of hocus pocus. It was kind of rooted in somebody's preferences and whim down the hall, if you will.
Yeah.
So that left us, jobless at the end of that extra year. That's when we got serious about trying to relocate.
Yeah, to find a place where you could really thrive.
Well, we hope so. It wasn't working there, apparently.
And it seems to be working here.
Well, we had some good fortune, that's right.
And it seems like you had two very focused goals.
Really?
The institution and the radio station. Both of you wanted the same thing. Well, what was it that was opening up the institution and you to the need for a radio station?
I get your point. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, they had begun this radio station, so it wasn't really my idea. It was kind of embryonic, of course, to begin with. And the engineering department had people working on it, the comm department, et cetera. But it was not formalized. It was kind of a signal that ran over the telephone lines, if you will. Possible. It was very localized. So they got serious about getting an FM license, and that's kind of where I stepped in. And I told them that I probably could do that, and I had little idea that maybe I couldn't do that. But it did work, and we were on the air within a few months.
Really? And the engineering department, a part
Well,
of it, too.
My friend Glenn Masden, we all remember Glenn,
Yes.
the good guy that he was.
Yes,
He
indeed.
stepped in, and the first translator was so bad that he'd come up around 8 or 9 o'clock and tune it up to get back on frequency. It would drift badly, to show you some of the beginning difficulties that thing gave us.
Yeah. So, how did you observe the process of watching this radio station grow to be what it is now? Just a part of the campus, part of our
Yeah,
lives.
it is, yeah.
Part of the valley.
It pretty much is. I suppose that wasn't part of the dream. I didn't have any idea it would do that.
Now, communications is your field, and I think one of the traditions that you established, aside from that marvelous Friday evening introduction, is evensong. That has been a part, and still is, a part
You're
of
right.
our campus life.
The generator for that was Mel West. I didn't have a clue, really, but he did. He had an idea how the organ and the spoken word could be placed on sundown, if you will, on Sabbath, and make that work. Organ by itself might not make it. The spoken word by itself would never make it. So the combination is what he thought, he envisioned, would make it. And together we plotted and planned. And within a year or so of my being here, and he'd been here a little while, it happened. And it continued to happen until this day.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's one of those forms of worship that is just a part of our Christian heritage. And
It's a tad unique. And people came and found they could sleep right through it. It was that soothing, I'm sure.
one of the things that I remember of your contributions to this campus are your study tours.
Study tours.
In fact, I think you actually began them. At least I remember that you supported them and encouraged them and helped them along the way for many years, including tutoring some other faculty in leading tours of their own. But I remember how much the England tour was just a part of campus, looking forward to it every other year for a while.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
So what made you begin that? It's a whale of a lot of work.
How would you know that?
Because I was one of the people you helped to teach.
Oh, hardly. No, it did take a lot of effort, you're right. And the planning was, in some senses, as much fun as the tour itself. But it seemed to me that we had some courses that naturally fit an overseas venue.
Yeah.
One of them was history of drama. Another one was Churchillian rhetoric. And they fit in England, don't they?
Oh, yes.
So when it became clear that some of this stuff would work and we could enhance our courses and give an experience to kids that otherwise they would probably never have, which is what turned out to be the case. We proposed those tours in the late 70s, and off we went.
I remember those tours. In fact, I think I accompanied you on one.
You did.
Yes,
That's right.
indeed.
Why
Just
didn't we
loved
give
it.
you a class to teach?
No, well,
Yeah.
I just wanted to travel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
you
believe
did
it.
turn these kids into travelers. I could just
I think
tell
so.
that. And that's a lifetime contribution.
Speak about it.
Yeah.
Preach it.
exactly. Exactly. Oh, any chance I get. And it seems like that I've heard you speak on several different occasions, and one of the motifs, the themes that comes through from you is the idea of civility. In fact, when you gave your faculty, distinguished faculty lecture in 2000,
That's
it was
true.
on that feat.
I did. That's
theme.
because somebody told me to.
Well, probably they did that for a reason.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about what this means.
Civility is the whole notion of getting along in kindly ways with people. It doesn't mean getting along because they agree with you. It means getting along even when they disagree with you. And that's commonly heard, but not commonly done. It means finding ways to treat folks and have an excuse for doing things right with humankind. A good piece of that simply is, but not simply done, paying attention. You're a good attention payer. You pay attention to people. Did you know that? Well, this is not your interview, is it?
Keep it on you here.
So, we talk about paying attention to people and how that's done. Some of the ways that gets done in ways we haven't usually thought about. Okay, so that's at the kind of the base of civility.
One of the memories I have of you is walking by your door many, many times.
I hope it was open.
And it was open, and I could see you sitting on a stool.
Yeah?
And talking with a student, just almost always. And I love that picture. Tell me what it is about that arrangement. Tell me something about your ideas of teaching.
I'll refer to this stool thing. So I bring it in when I first show up, and I think, people are going to like sitting on that funny old stool. And after a while, I got to thinking that it was useful because they sat higher than I was. I liked that. I had the desk and the cushy chair and all that stuff. And then at some point, I would reverse that. That's what you saw.
Oh, okay.
And I would sit higher, and they'd have the cushy chair and talk on and on. If I felt the person was going to stay too long, we didn't give them too much comfort. After all, my day came to an end too, So it seemed to me that I'm happiest when I'm engaging, I think. And I'm happy, and that's when I'm picking somebody's brain, particularly about how their life happens to be ticking. It seems to me if we are compassionately rigorous in and out of class, especially we can advance our cause a long ways. Rigor without compassion is hard work. Rigor with compassion is quite doable, maybe even enjoyable. One of the ways we show compassion is to invite people to engage with us. Well, what's important in the campus is really not me. It would be the person who pays the bills, who comes here with some notion of who they want to be. And if they don't have a notion of who they want to be, then I get interested. I'd rather be interested than interesting. It's possible to be both, I think. So that's a good piece of why we're here, seems to me.
Yes.
College is about kids.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's why we're here.
So I don't mind being a model in some ways. Right, and I'm not the model, I'm just an example, really. I'm not the model. I consider myself a facilitator. I'm not a speaker. I don't get enraptured with my own stuff. I'd rather hear your stuff. So I want to facilitate your mind, and I want to see if I can be a part of your journey from where you are to where that agile mind could take you. That's the essence of it.
Loren, you've had an opportunity to watch generations of students move from the freshman year to the senior year, come in and leave graduated as different people. What does that process look like? What is the nature of the change that happens here in 4 years at Walla Walla?
I suppose that we have to comment on the learning in a formal way, but that may not be the essence of things. I think a student shows up as a freshman and as a senior doesn't really remember very much about the class, and we've all had that experience in college. But the key piece is they remember you. And they remember how you behaved and what you stood for. I think that whole awareness begins to translate into the progress they're making during their college experience. And the letter grades are something we forget. Couldn't tell you what I got in general semantics when I was at the University of Denver. Don't know. But I do know some key people. Some of them I would never copy. And some of them I would say, he did that right. I can model off of that to some extent while still being who I am. So I think those lessons are going on, and they continue to go on, reflecting back on college, not what I learned but who was there to take an interest? With whom did I engage? And how did that map my life? If it was positive, all the better.